Hey guys, I'm going to give my honest review of the video game Crypt. Crypt is a psychological nightmare, and only partially because it is a horror game. Crypt was made in September of 2022 by a creator named Veilfisk. Veilfisk was semi-underground as a YouTuber, but also known for making games to psychologically torture his friends. It's no wonder that his later game, Crypt, was no different than his previous psychologically torturous games. I played this game 4 days after its release. I've roughly used 7 hours in it and have never beaten the game. I have never since played a game that fits psychological horror quite as well. As far as graphics and quality, Crypt actually looks alright. While the pixelated style may be bland to others, I found it refreshing. Other than the repeated floor and wall textures, which lacked variety, the graphics were not an issue with me, and I didn't experience any frame droppage either. The controls are also pretty standard. WASD to move around, Shift to sprint, and E to pick up items. You also have a stamina bar that turns yellow when you use it up. The game gives you a brief moment to experience this before getting into the main course. In the story, the game opens with a voice in some language you can't understand. Sounds kinda like Russian, with the subtitles, "Retrieve my prize, bring it to me." Afterwards, you start in a tutorial room with pillars, jars, and a key. Once you pick up the key and unlock the door, you can exit the tutorial room into the main room of the crypt. In the main room, up some stairs, you find a tomb. Next to this tomb is a vase, which, when taken, predictably starts to make the tomb shake as if what is inside is trying to get out. 3 doors in the room also open for you to explore. You also see a door behind the tomb with 4 slots for keys. Armed with your trusty torch, your goal is to presumably find all 4 keys, unlock the door, and escape the crypt without dying from whatever's inside the tomb. Oh, and be careful you don't run into any game-breaking glitches where the vase just doesn't appear, or you can continuously hit E on it and it doesn't do anything except reset the tomb animation. Fun times. Both of these happened while I was trying to record the footage for this video. My problems do not lie within the controls, the graphics, or even the story, as non-existent as it is. Oh no. My problems are with the gameplay itself. You would think, when making a game, that playability would be its greatest or most sought-after feature. Not Crypt. See, when I said psychological torture, I meant it. Before you start the game, you have to go into settings. However, the setting you must turn on is Can Win Game. It literally will not let you win otherwise. When you pick up the vase that starts the game, 3 rooms open for you, each terrible in its own way. One room is a 3-floor labyrinth with frustrating loops and identical-looking walls. The only way to actually mark where you are is through ceiling heights, which occasionally differ. There is something unique in the labyrinth. There are 3 symbols you can find on the wall, 1 on each floor. I took note of these symbols the first time I played. This room is usually the one I go to first because it takes me the longest. Within the labyrinth is a single key. This key is not out in the open, however. In fact, when I first played, I walked past it 3 times before finally seeing it. You see, in one hallway on the 2nd floor, there's a tiny crack in the wall which the player can spot and slip into. And when you finally make it out of the 3-floor labyrinth to the main room, you notice that the tomb is now open after getting the first key. Moving on, we want to go to the next room. The second room I usually do is the lever room. This room is, unsurprisingly, full of levers. There are also pillars around the room which can be crossed with bridges activated by the levers. This bridge system sits above a dark lower level which is a staircase leading down to it, or you can jump straight into the abyss, no fall damage. Below the bridges, near a pillar, you can find another pedestal with a key on it. Usually, once you grab this key, you'll hear scuttling in the darkness. The thing in the tomb is unleashed. This creature can kill upon touch and is fast and terrifying. Here's what it will do if you have 2 keys. It screams and runs away. This terrifying creature was named by the developer. His name is Greg. I'm not even kidding. It's even the achievement you get when you die. The nice thing is, Greg will not kill you when you have 1 or 2 keys. He will only scream and run away to the other side of the map if he sees the player. We still have a 3rd and 4th key to collect, the 3rd being in the lever room as well. The lever puzzle has an interesting solution. The bridges make a sound when they come out of the pillar. However, you cannot use sound to figure it out. Well, you could just guess and guess and guess. The actual, obvious solution is to make the entire grid a checkerboard. I kid you not, there is no hint at all there. Doing this will let you go across the bridges and collect the 3rd key. Now you've got 3 keys. Greg becomes hostile after this. Don't worry though, you can lose him if he starts chasing you. Now, if you manage to get those first 3 keys, you have 1 more. The last room is called the pillar room, or the block puzzle room. All it is a room with some jars and a block pillar with symbols etched into it. These might look familiar. Didn't we see these symbols in the labyrinth? Except no, they aren't the same. In fact, those symbols are completely useless and arbitrary, literally only created to confuse the player. Literally, the only way to solve this puzzle is to brute force it. You have to guess your way through it. The fastest is to spin the top row 3 times, the middle row 2 times, and the bottom row 3 times. Once you've managed that, the 4th key will now be available to you. Unless, for some reason, you can't actually hit the hitbox of the last block and it just doesn't move because you keep hitting E and it won't change. Yeah, that never happens. Once you manage that, the 4th key will now be available to you. Once you collect it, Greg knows where you are. Now, of course, you must go put the keys in the pillars to escape. After you've somehow collected all the keys without getting caught, you put the keys in the receptacles. 9 out of 10 times, the player will receive an achievement called Failure. This is because Veilfist made it so that you must put the keys into the receptacles in a very specific order. The order is 3rd, 1st, 2nd, 4th. Once you finally get it right, the door says, "The way is shut, a door has opened somewhere else." Oh yeah, and once you have all 4 keys in, Greg not only knows where you are, but will beeline for your location. So now, you learn the exit behind the tomb is a fake, and must search for the real exit. But don't worry, the real exit can be in a nice 12 different locations. Not only that, you have to find it before Greg finds you, or be fast enough to outrun him. If you can find all 4 keys, outrun Greg, and find the exit room, you're almost done. There's one last requirement to beat the game. You see, in the exit room there are 3 pedestals. Each one takes an item called a tome. There are 3 hidden in the crypt. They also change locations. They can be found in the Labyrinth, Jars, or the Lever Room. Don't worry, there's only 50 different locations they can be in. These books are the last piece you need. Once you have done all of this, it is possible to leave the crypt. You exit and get the message, "You have retrieved my prize. Congratulations. You wasted an awful lot of time to get here." You win! And if for some reason you're a masochist who loves torturing yourself, you can turn on the Gregging. This setting spawns 12 Gregs in the crypt. Pure nightmare fuel. I will say, as frustrating as Crypt can be, it keeps me coming back. I still think about this game and open it up to play it because it's entertaining. It catches my attention and it does a good job as a horror game. Greg is legitimately terrifying when you play, and the silence and cramped spaces leave you very paranoid. There's a reason I have 7 hours in the game, even though I haven't beaten it yet. The challenge keeps me coming back again and again. Overall, Crypt gets a 3 out of 10 from me. Terribly frustrating to play, but it does execute horror very well. That actually isn't the worst rating I've seen. Most Steam page reviews gave the game a 0 out of 10 because they can't date Greg. Thank you guys for watching this train wreck.